Hey there, good morning. It's Carolina. I'm your alcohol free life coach and helping you design an empowered alcohol free life that allows you to go after your deepest desires and goals and dreams. That's the whole freaking point. The point isn't just to remove alcohol, the point is to make space for what you truly want in your life. And today I'm going to be talking about jealousy and how jealousy is actually an incredible tool that you can use to help you design a life you love. Now, let's flash back to when I used to be a drinker, to let's say 5, 6, 7 years ago. I was a very, very jealous person. Now, I don't use the word jealous in the sense of a romantic relationships. I wasn't jealous that my husband was off somewhere with other people. I was jealous of other people's lives. I was envious, right? I always said the grass was greener somewhere else. And I can just tell you so many places where I used to be jealous and then end really on one main one. So I remember being jealous, for example, of one of my friends who was just this bubbly extrovert, and she had events and parties and dinners and breakfasts all the time with this huge group of girlfriends, like 10, 12 girlfriends all the time. And I remember just being so jealous of her. Like, where are all those friends from? Like, I went to a school in one city, I grew up in one city, then I went to college in another city, then I went to grad school in another city. And as I grew up, a lot of my friends moved to different places, right? Or I moved. And so having an adult and being an adult and knowing how to make adult friends was not something I knew how to do, right? And so I remember being so jealous about other people who seemed to have a lot more friends than I did, right? I couldn't figure it out. Another thing I used to be jealous about was people who seemed like fitter than I was, right? So like I remember just being like, whoa, that's so cool that people are running a race or a marathon or that they're doing all this cardio or that they go to the gym. Why can't I be like that? You know what I mean? I used to be really jealous of that. Another thing I was really jealous about, oh my gosh, was travel. So I used to be really jealous about people who traveled more than I did. So I remember at my previous job, I worked in higher education. There were certain people in certain positions who got to travel a lot. And at the time, I didn't travel at all, right? And so I was always looking at these people like, oh my God, you're so lucky. Why can't I have that? You know, like I was just super, super jealous about that. And as time moved on, I really started to change my own kind of desires to create the kind of life I want and actually be able to manifest that travel for myself. But I didn't know that back then. I was also jealous of people who had a better relationship with alcohol than I did. So people who seemed to be able to just stop at one or just be okay with not even drinking at all. I couldn't figure that out. I was super jealous at people who just seemed to have it all figured out and I didn't. And lastly, I was really, really jealous of people who lived a lifestyle that catered to their expertise, that catered to their autonomy and catered to their freedom. So, what do I mean by this? Back then, I didn't really know about this whole online coaching world, but what I did see was a few people who basically made money on the internet and traveled. That's what I saw. I remember seeing people like that. I also remember thought leaders like Brene Brown or Deepak Chopra that also seem to have this really cool life because they share their knowledge, their expertise with people, and they write books. So I was super, super, super jealous of people like that. Oh, don't even get me started. If I heard of someone who wrote a book who was younger than me, I flipped out. I was like, what the hell, you know? And the moments when I was most jealous, obviously I was jealous when I saw like public figures sometimes or celebrities or just people out there like in the sphere. But what really grinded my gears was seeing someone I knew. So I remember seeing people I knew, like someone from college or someone from high school even. And I remember thinking, oh my God, she's not even that smart. And then she launches a business and is talking about it all the time on Facebook. That used to grind my gears because I thought in one point in time that like maybe I would do more with my life, right? And so seeing someone do that, not only was I jealous, I was critical too, right? Like I was the person in the sidelines throwing the tomatoes at the person who was actually doing something. I wasn't speaking anything out loud, but I was in my mind being hypercritical of it. So really my jealousy was something that I experienced a lot before as a drinker. I was jealous of a lot of different kinds of people for a lot of different kinds of reasons. But mostly I was jealous of people who seemed to have some kind of autonomy and expertise over their career, helped people, were a thought leader, managed their own lives, and were able to travel whenever they want. And I remember falling into a fallacy. This fallacy of it must be nice. This fallacy that somehow they are different than I am, and whatever happened to be able to create those circumstances in their life is pure luck, is something they're purely born into. And I had this attitude of just like, well, it must be nice. It must be nice that you can just fly to Paris this weekend, right? It must be nice that, you're living your great lifestyle over here and writing books. It must be nice, right? I remember saying that so much to myself. Now, something radically changed when I changed my own relationship with alcohol. I recognized that the very things I was jealous about were not things that just happened to other people and didn't seem to happen to me. They were things that needed to be created. They were things that I had to intentionally take action about in my life. I couldn't just sit by on the side being jealous of someone traveling to Paris. If I wanted that lifestyle, I needed to create it. I needed to maybe put myself an opportunity at work where I would be allowed to travel, or maybe I just needed to buy the freaking tickets, right? Like, nothing's stopping me from going to Paris. And so I changed my sense of jealousy. I remember the first year I went alcohol free, all of a sudden, that one move where I changed my relationship with alcohol, it allowed me to really think, wait a minute, if I could change this thing, maybe I can change all the other things. Maybe I could start really actually doing something that I really want with my life. I mean, if other people are writing books, maybe I can just take a pen and actually start writing something down. If other people are building businesses, maybe I can take the first baby step to actually incorporating a business here and buying a domain. Like, my eyes were really open that everything I wanted in my life was something I just had to take baby steps towards. And this must be nice attitude was actually really, really hindering me. So that's my story in a nutshell, at least around jealousy. And I want you now to be able to use jealousy as your own potent tool to create a life you desire. Because here's the thing, my jealousy, your jealousy, it's pointing to what you really want in your life. Something you really want, but you're too scared to admit to yourself. So instead of admitting it to yourself and moving towards it, you're jealous, right? I mean, let me give you a few examples. Someone from your high school got their PhD, became a doctor, is a writer, is a public speaker, and the person from your high school wasn't even very smart. And you're looking at them now and they're super successful and you're just like, what the hell? Her? Him? Like, you just can't stand it. Like, it just makes your blood boil, right? You're so jealous and you're so just like, you don't understand how that happened for them. So these are these signs and these examples that you're experiencing jealousy in your life. Now, like I said, jealousy is an incredibly potent tool because jealousy is pointing you at the things you really want, but you're too scared to admit to yourself, or you don't really feel like you're worthy of claiming that dream or that desire yet. And so jealousy is actually a great tool to actually uncover what you really want. Now think about this. Maybe that seems common sense, or maybe that sounds simple, but how many people in this planet, how many people just around you living their normal lives can say what they really want out of their one and only lifetime? How many people are intentionally creating lives that they really, really want? How many people are intentionally designing a life that is the life of their dreams? Versus how many people just fall into careers, just fall into a lifestyle, just fall into living in a certain city or doing a certain way of things and just stay stuck there because they never ask themselves what they really want. I mean, you can tell where I'm going with this, that the majority of people don't know what they want and the very few minority do know what they want. So even though jealousy is a very uncomfortable emotion, it brings out a lot of triggers. It makes us feel uncomfortable. It makes us feel like we are less than. It makes us feel competitive. It makes us feel unworthy. It's not a comfortable feeling. It is a very negative feeling. That doesn't mean it's bad. Jealousy is actually an incredible tool to show you what you really want. And a lot of times the thing you really want is something that you haven't claimed yet, something you haven't actually spoken the desire. You haven't articulated that that's what you want. So let me give you a few examples. You see someone going on a yoga retreat. You see one of your friends just posting up somewhere tropical and just living this life, and you're just sitting there like, must be nice, right? Okay, well, obviously a yoga retreat is something that you desire. It's something that you wish you could do too. And instead of using all that energy of saying it must be nice or thinking that she just won the lottery, you have to ask yourself, well, how could I make this possible for me too? Now that's a really small example, right? Because it's like, yeah, of course I want to go on a yoga retreat. But oftentimes, other things are, things we haven't even admitted to ourselves. So, say someone is a coach or public figure or a public speaker, for example, and it just grinds your gears. Like, they post on Facebook and you're like, oh my God, like, how did this person do that? You're jealous about it. You're confused. You just, maybe even you're a little critical. Like, look at them. They're such a show off, right? That jealousy is pointing to something inside of you too. The jealousy points to this deeper yearning that you have a message to share. You have something inspiring you could say, but you're not. You're not sharing it. You're not saying it the way this other person is. And so your jealousy is actually a tool that you can use in that moment to discover, oh, I'm meant to share a message with the world too. If I'm jealous of a public speaker or a coach, I'm meant to share a message. I'm meant to change lives, right? If you're jealous of people who write books, you can guess where I'm going with this, right? If you're jealous of someone who's written a book before, that means that you want to write a book and that is part of your life's destiny. And that instead of being jealous on the side, watching someone else do it, it's time for you to take action on it, right? If you're jealous of someone who travels a lot, it means that you desire to travel more in your life and that you love to see the world and that it's really about exploration for you and seeing new cultures and that it's up to you to include that in your life. Now, I remember even when I was working still at my old job in higher education, I used to have a position that never traveled, and I used to be super jealous. Like, we worked closely with people who studied abroad, so I had colleagues that traveled all the time. And I went from no traveling to all of a sudden taking 2-3 trips a year to like far-flung destinations. Now, I know that's not the most travel ever. A lot of people travel way more than that in their jobs. But like, it wasn't just like a conference in Cincinnati. I was going to Hawaii. I was going to Scotland, Costa Rica. Like, it was pretty cool, right? And I really turned that sense of jealousy that I had for other people who got to travel, and I energetically started claiming it and making goals about it and making action steps and moves to do that. I also used jealousy to my advantage when I decided I wanted to write a book and launch a business. I was jealous of all the other people out there doing that. I was jealous. I remember there was this woman. I followed her for so long. This is when I was still a drinker. She lived in Mexico. She was like an American living in Mexico, and she was a coach. She helped people. Not only was she a coach with like one-on-one coaching, she did retreats in Mexico. Like, she just lived to me this optimal life. I was like, what? Oh my God, could I just have your life? Like, that sounds so cool, so adventurous. You know, here I am working for a boss and waking up at 5 a.m. to go to some job and sitting in traffic, all these things. And then I would see her and just be like, how could I have your life? And so again, that jealousy that I experienced was this beautiful tool to show me what I really wanted. And now, I mean, just a few years later, I literally have that woman's life, right? Like, I live in San Diego. I don't live in Mexico, but I travel just as often. I'm going to be 3 months abroad in Europe this summer. You know, I'm going to Cabo like in a few weeks. Like, my life is now built on travel. I travel with my laptop. I don't have a bus. I don't commute. I don't have to sit in any traffic in the morning. I don't have anywhere to go. I work for myself. I have my own autonomy. The things that I really, really wanted so long ago, I've created that in my life. And instead of using jealousy as something that triggers me and makes me feel like I am without, I am less than, you know, I'm never going to have that, I've turned jealousy as a tool to express what I really want in my life. And then using that to actually go after it. So let's again do this example. You're jealous of that public speaker, and that means basically that you also have a message that you want to share, or you have a way of inspiring people, right? That is the sign. If you're jealous of a public speaker, it means you also have a message you want to share and you have a way of inspiring people. If you're jealous of a writer or an author, it means that you also have a book inside of you, right? Now, what can you actually do once you determine what it is you're jealous of and what that means that you have? You can take a baby step in that direction. So I know from going from working, you know, in a normal job to being a public speaker on stage, making like 10 to 15K a speech is like a huge jump, but there's little baby steps that you can take. If you really wish that you have a message that you want to share and you want to be a public speaker, there's Toastmaster groups in all the cities across the nation, right? You could join a Toastmaster group and actually start practicing and refining your skills and getting connected with other people who actually do speaking for a living. and enrich your network, and maybe you'll get an opportunity soon. Maybe you'll start speaking for free first. Maybe you'll speak at your local libraries or retirement homes. I mean, do you know how many people cut their teeth and got practice in like retirement homes and libraries when they first started? Really mega famous people today started there. So there's always a baby step next to take if you hone in on what your desire is by honing in on what you're jealous of. In addition to the public speaking, I mean, if you want to, let's say you're jealous of an author or a writer, yes, it might seem far-fetched to write a book tomorrow. However, can you set aside 15 minutes this week to sit down and write an outline? Or 15 minutes to start scribbling, a little bit of a prose or a story or something you want to write down? The baby steps themselves are not monumental. They're not these huge things you have to do. They're just one right step in the next direction. And you might not know the ladder of how you get from here to here, but you just follow the first baby step. And the universe works in these miraculous ways because when you follow the first baby step, all of a sudden the universe shows you, or your own intuition shows you what the next baby step is. And I remember for me, my first baby step was buying a domain. I bought my domain, euphoricaf.com, and I started building this Squarespace site, I just started tinkering around with it. That was my very first baby step. And then obviously I got to a point where I was ready to share that blog, that website with other people. And so then my next baby step was to actually share it and basically to come out on the social medias that I was alcohol free and wanted to help people with that now. So that was my next baby step. And it seems like a huge step, but I just wrote a post. It seems like a huge step in our head. Oh my God, I'm going to come out and tell all these people this. But the actual activity was just writing a few sentences and posting it on social media. It wasn't really the biggest action step in the sense of the work involved. You know what I mean? It's all in our heads. And I remember the next baby step after that was starting to post consistently on social media. I thought, okay, I can share advice. Maybe I don't know about a business. I don't know about what that would be, but at least I can start sharing mocktails or advice about being alcohol free. I can do that, right? Anyone can do that. Tomorrow you could do that. Tomorrow you could post something on Instagram or Facebook that's inspiring and uplifting and empowering. Anyone can do that. You don't have to have business to do that, right? And my next step was, well, maybe there is a business here. Maybe I should actually make it legal. Maybe I should file and incorporate, right? So my next baby step after that was to actually figure out how to file in my state and get legally set up, My next baby step after that was well, maybe there's a product to sell here. I took my framework and the way I changed my relationship with alcohol, and I created a framework out of it that was an 8-step process, which is now my signature program, Become Euphoric, and included in this book right here. And hundreds of people have gone through it, right? So every baby step just kind of showed itself to me. I remember one of my next baby steps was to actually sign up for a small business development center, one that I helped launch with my previous job, and actually sign up for their services as a client to actually get help from consultants for free to help me launch my business. So I started working with this marketing expert who helped me get the very foundation of my business together. Every little baby step was just this small little baby step I took. I went to a networking event where I learned how to do a lot of the legal side of my business. And then I went to a Facebook event where I learned how to do some of the social media parts. Everything was just a baby step that you just create it, and you create this house eventually, right? You're putting brick by brick by brick down, and eventually you create a house. So my tools for you in this moment is to figure out what you're jealous of, who you're jealous of, what are they doing, why does it make you jealous? And then I want you to, once you write down what they're doing, I want you to actually share for yourself why you're jealous. You're jealous because you're meant to share a message, or you're meant to help people, or you're meant to write a book, or you're meant to travel, or you're meant to live an abundant lifestyle that caters to every single one of your inherent God-given desires while helping other people. Whatever it is, it means that that's what you really, really want. And like I said in the beginning, most people don't know what they want. And if they do, they won't actually say it. They won't articulate it. They will not have the courage to actually put it out there. So by you claiming it, even in just your journal, that this is what I want, that is a huge, huge step. So once you know who you're jealous of, why you're jealous of them, because you have that desire to create that yourself, you then can take the next baby step in that direction. So like I said, maybe you go to a networking event, maybe you join Toastmasters, maybe you sit down and buy a domain, maybe you post something on social media. Like the baby steps themselves are not that big. They're big in our heads, but you have to get started or else jealousy came to you and you wasted it. You wasted it and you didn't use it to actually use it to help you. Now, I can still be jealous these days, right? For the most part, I've created a dream lifestyle and I love what I do and I love my job and I love that I get to travel and I love that I get to work with such incredibly visionary women to help change their relationships with alcohol and discover what their bigger purpose is in life. I love all that. But obviously I'm here and there's still like so many mountains to climb. There's so much growth to happen. There's so much that I still want to see, do, be, and have in my life. So yes, I still get triggered by jealousy. I will get triggered by jealousy from someone else. And instead of immediately going into competitiveness or feeling like I'm unworthy or that will never happen for me, I remember that my jealousy is just a sign that that's the thing I want and that thing is meant for me too, and that I'm going to start working towards it, right? So I want you from now on to just drop the entire must be nice attitude. Because the thing about must be nice is it energetically tells your subconscious that whatever that other person has, you can never have. You are not worthy of it. You will never create it in your lifetime. That is literally what you're telling yourself when you say must be nice. And you're looking jealously at other people or enviously or judgmentally at other people. Anytime you use that phrase must be nice or just like really thinking to yourself, well, they don't have this and da 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 da, you are energetically telling your subconscious, we do not deserve that thing. We will never have that thing. I mean, isn't it one thing, like just for a funny example, isn't it one thing to like want $1 million and think it will never happen to you versus want $1 million and know that you're building it and it's going to happen no matter what? And even if someone is at $100, but one person thinks it'll never happen for them, and the other person is also only at $100 in their savings account, but they know for sure it's going to happen for them, they just have to be patient and do the work, isn't energetically that second place such a better place to be? So like, just because you haven't traveled yet to France, or you haven't gone on a yoga retreat, or you haven't written a book yet, or you don't have your dream job, or you don't have the healthy relationship with alcohol, or whatever it is, you're not alcohol free yet, it doesn't mean it's not coming for you. It doesn't mean that it's not going to happen for you. You just have to be patient and actually start working on it. And saying the phrase, oh, it must be nice, or just letting jealousy like make you feel super competitive and low and negative and not doing anything about it, it's actually energetically telling you you're never going to have that thing. That's not meant for you. That life is never going to be for you. You're never going to have that, right? And that just shuts off all creativity, all intuition, all ambition, all drive, all momentum, all of your empowerment just goes out the window because you've told yourself you cannot have what you really want and it will never happen for you. So banish the phrase, it must be nice, out of your vocabulary. And when you see someone's life that you admire and that you are jealous about, or someone has something you wish they had, or a career you wish you had, or a lifestyle, I want you to thank the universe for showing you that that's what you really want. And then journal to yourself about what next baby step you could take to have that thing. So jealousy, even though it is a negative emotion, even though it's uncomfortable, even though it makes us feel like we are unworthy or that we're not good enough, it still can be an incredibly potent tool for you to use it. Now, in my book, Euphoric, I actually talk about this concept, and there's a famous author, Gretchen Rubin. She's also alcohol-free. I think she has 4 or 5 New York Times bestselling books. She's a happiness expert. I mean, she's made it, right? She has the pinnacle of an incredible writing career. But the thing is that she originally went to law school and trained as a lawyer. And she was actually living a pretty good lawyer's life. She was a clerk for Sandra Day O'Connor. Sandra Day O'Connor, right? The former Supreme Court Justice. She was a clerk for her. But the thing is that she noticed she wasn't happy. Even though she was living the up-and-coming lawyer's dream, she wasn't happy. And she actually allowed herself to use jealousy as a tool. She asked herself, okay, who am I jealous of? Like, who in my network or in my high school or in my college, who am I jealous of? And the answer was all her writing friends. She had a few writing friends that went into writing books or became journalists or whatever. That's who she was jealous of. And she decided to then start writing a book, that she knew she was meant to write a book. And her first book, The Happiness Project, It was literally about her life and like how to just make little shifts in your projects to be happier. Like, she didn't have to change her life. She didn't have to quit her job being a lawyer. She just started writing something that she knew. And then that became a sensation. And then obviously she did change her jobs. And now she has 4 New York Times bestsellers. So jealousy is a really powerful tool. And I hope this was helpful to be able to switch a negative emotion into really a signal that what you want is out there for you and it wants you back. You just have to switch your energetics and actually start working for it. Danielle, I'm super excited to see you. Oh my gosh, you're so sweet to say. I admire you. I hope that this talk is helpful. And I admire literally anyone in here watching this, watching the replay, because you are also stepping up for your life. You are also claiming what you want, deciding what you don't want. And even though it's always a process, it's always a moving thing, you never arrive necessarily. We're not fixed. We are getting better than we were the day before, and we are striving towards the things we really want, and we're allowing our desires to show us what we want, and we're going for the life we want, and we're removing the toxicity that we don't want, such as alcohol and negative thinking and the must be nice attitude, right? So thank you so much for joining me today. I'll be back next week. And remember, jealousy is a potent tool to help you design a life that you really want. So instead of feeling really low about it when you experience it, use it to do some self-discovery work on yourself and take that very first baby step.